Hi guys, today we are going to learn how to deep clean a kitchen and a dining room. So the first thing you want to do is you want to dust, you want to get everything up high, down bottom. So I'm going to start in the dining room since they're attached. You want to make sure you're dusting everything that has a lip, even a thermostat. And you want to get around the doors. You want to make sure you're dusting the doors because they have ledges. I don't have my tall stick, but we do have extendable sticks that will get up there. So I'm just going to go around and get everything up high. You definitely want to dust any mirrors or picture frames that are on the wall. And now I'm going to go down bottom. You need to make sure you're dusting baseboards. Bottom baseboards. You want to make sure you're getting all the dust off the baseboards because you're going to be wet wiping them. When there's furniture in front of a baseboard, we are going to just move everything off because we have to dust this piece of furniture anyways. This way you can get back there. While I'm down here, I'm going to dust off this. I will dust what is on the furniture. It looks much nicer and it does not take a lot of time. You always want to make sure you put people's things back nice and neat. You never want a client coming home and they have to put things back in order. While I'm here, I'm just going to continue dusting this furniture. You want to make sure you're getting picture frames. You want to make sure you're picking the item up off the table. I even hit the candle holders. You just have to pick it up quick and put it back down. We do not use wet dusting spray unless it's asked. And then you want to make sure you are getting light fixtures. So I usually will just step up on something. You want to make sure you're getting the entire light fixture, any cobwebs. There's always cobwebs up here, so just quickly get all the dust down. And now I'm going to dust off the table. It is very important when you are dusting chairs that you get the entire chair. You want to make sure you get anything, like I said, that has a ledge. So you want to get underneath the chair. You also want to make sure you're getting underneath the table. Just move chairs out of your way. Don't be afraid to move things to get what you need to get. And I'll continue dusting all the chairs. And I'm going to get the rest of the base of the table. And then I'm going to just gently get the crumbs off of the top of a wood table, and I'm going to show you how we clean it. the table, we want to clean the table. The only thing you should be cleaning a table with is your microfiber cloth and a little bit of Dawn dish soap. Don't ever put any cleaning product on anybody's wood tables. You want to make sure you're getting all stuck on food, fingerprints, anything that is on the table. You also want to make sure your rag is not saturated. You cannot leave a lot of water on wood. And then I usually just look eye level, make sure there's nothing left on the table. And now I'm going to wet wipe my trim. When you are doing a deep clean, you have to wet wipe your baseboards after you dust them. You also need to wet wipe the trim. And then the last thing you wet wipe is going to be your doors. You want to make sure you're getting any fingerprints or debris off your drawers. I do want to add the only thing you should be wet wiping woodwork or doors is a rag only. So I did all the wet wiping in this room. Now I'm going to Windex the slider. The next thing we're going to do is Windex the slider. You want to make sure you're using your spray foam. Spray the entire slider. You want to make sure you're getting any fingerprints or smudges, any dog slobber, anything that's on the glass. When the warm weather comes, you want to make sure you're doing inside and outside. You also want to make sure you move the screen over to do the other side. If they are really dirty, don't be afraid to wash them more than once. You should be able to stand back and not see any streaks. Okay, and the glass is done. Okay, now that we did all the wet wiping and the Windexing and the dusting of the dining room, we're going to save the floors for last because we're going to move into the kitchen since it's all one area. So again, I'm going to be doing all my high dusting, getting everything down. If I see any cobwebs, I'll just hit them, which I don't in this area. You just want to make sure you reach all the way up. I'm going to quickly dust the cabinet so we can wet wipe them, just to make sure there's no lingering dust. You always always want to make sure you dust the top of the fridge. Then I'm going to keep going around. Just a quick dust on the cabinets because we're going to wet wipe them. Another light fixture, you want to make sure you're getting all of it, all dust down. You also should be getting the tops of the sills and dusting the ledge. This part is really important because when customers are doing their dishes, this is their main focal point, so this needs to be very clean. You want to make sure this is a ledge, so I'm dusting that just super quick because I'm going to clean these after. And now I'm going to get my baseboards all around the room. Kitchens don't tend to have too many baseboards. So that's that for that. And then now I'm going to dust any furniture in the kitchen. Stools are very important. You want to make sure you're dusting every section. Make sure all the crumbs are off. Make sure there's no dust. Don't be afraid to move things so you can get them really good. And now that I moved the stools, I'm able to get the baseboards under here. Just gonna give this a quick dust for when I wet wipe later. So now that all my dusting is done, I'm going to do my wet wiping again. So now that my dusting is done, I'm gonna wet wipe my trim again. I'm also going to, while I'm right here, just give these a quick wet wipe. Make sure there's no sticky food on them. This kitchen didn't have too much trim, so now we are going to move on to wet wiping the cabinets. When you're wet wiping cabinets, don't be afraid to open them because you need to get every part of the cabinet. You want to make sure there's no grease left on them, no food, no dust. You want to make sure you're getting the handles. If you can't reach, just use a stool. And you want to do that throughout the entire kitchen. Again, I'm going to wet wipe over here. Wet wipe up there. We're going to Windex that window after. Another thing I want to point out is when you're doing cabinets, to make sure you get the stuff next to the sink. You want to rinse your rag often. Because there will be stuck on food on your rag, so you want to rinse it and you want to give it a little bit more done. And then continue with your wet wiping. Along with wet wiping the cabinets, you need to make sure you wet wipe your island. You want to do the whole thing. You want to do every side. continue to do the whole island. Now that our wet wiping is done in the kitchen, I'm going to start the countertops. So a lot of times I will just make sure there's not a ton of crumbs, because if you get your crumbs wet, they're going to be harder to get off. I even dust the stovetop, just, you know, a quick dust is all you need because we're going to wash them. I'm going to do this counter first. So I got all the dust off. So you want to take your multi-purpose cleaner and you're going to spray it. Spray your stovetop, spray everything really good. And then you're going to get a clean magic eraser. We need to wet it. And then I'm going to go along. Make sure you're getting the edges of the counter because that's where crumbs sit. You want to make sure you get this back portion of the stovetop. Whether it's a range or it's a flat one like this, there's always a section in the back that needs to get wiped. You want to make sure, especially for a stovetop, you're getting as much of the stuck on food off as possible. Sometimes it does not all come off, it's burnt on there, and that's okay. You want to make sure you're doing detailed things like these. And then I'm going to move up top here. Make sure I'm getting all the food off. A lot of times with granite, you need to make sure you're eye level with it because it's hard to see the crumbs in the food. So I just double check. Now that I've washed my countertops, I need to shine them. So for a black stovetop, any stovetop, after you've washed it, you want to use your spray foam so it doesn't leave streaks. So I just spray it on the stovetop. Then you're going to use your paper towels. You're going to wipe it. Notice how I'm always turning my paper towel so I get enough use out of it. You want to make sure you're getting around the knobs really good. You want to make sure too, if it's a gas stove, you're not turning these knobs and starting the gas. And I'm also shining my knobs. And then I'm also going to make sure there's no streaks or anything left on my stovetop. Now my stovetop is done. So the next thing I need to do is polish my granite. The only thing you should ever be using on a granite countertop is the specified granite cleaner that we give you. So you're going to spray it all. This is almost like a granite Windex. It's going to make it shine. Then I'm going to take my paper towels. Make sure it's nice and dry. If you notice anything on the backsplash, just, you know, give it a wipe. And I'm getting eye level again to make sure I get everything off. You want to make sure it's dry too. And the last section. Now that counter's done. The next thing I'm gonna do is my countertop on this side of the kitchen. So again, I'm just gonna dust for any crumbs. You don't need to move microwaves, but just stick your duster under there. Get any eye level crumbs. Just gonna do quick. Make sure you get the top of the microwave. Make sure you always get crumbs off the toaster. We're gonna wash this after when we get to that part. Make sure you lift it up, get crumbs underneath. Everything on a counter needs to be lifted up and moved. Get all the crumbs onto the floor and we'll vacuum them later. Okay, we'll leave that as that. And now we always have to clean the inside of a microwave. So I would take the tray out, I put it in the sink. And I'm going to spray the inside of my microwave with our all-purpose cleaner. And then I'm going to use my magic eraser. And wash it out. You want to make sure you're getting the top, sides, and bottom. Any stuck on food in there, especially the top of it. We're just doing the inside for now and we'll do the out after. So after I've washed it, again, we're going to use a Windex to get any of the cleaner and any excess junk off of there. So I've sprayed the Windex inside the microwave and I'm wiping it so it leaves it nice and shiny. You also don't want to leave any appliances wet. That's kind of why we use the Windex. Dry it and shine it at the same time. And then we'll wash the tray in the sink and we'll put the tray back and then we'll clean the outside of it. Now I'm going to clean the outside. I'm just going to spray it with my Windex. Get my paper towels. So we want to make sure there's no greasy fingerprints or food on the outside of it. Now I'm going to clean this section of the counter, my all-purpose again, like I did with the other counter. My kitchen magic eraser. I'm moving things, getting behind, getting any crumbs out. So when you're cleaning the counters, you want to make sure you're moving any appliances on the counter. You want to make sure you're getting any dust or any debris on any appliances. We will come back to that after and Windex it so it's shiny. You want to get back here really good when you're doing dishes and stuff, food splatters up here. You want to make sure you are getting the faucet. We will do the sink last. So right now I'm just doing this one small section. I'm going to make sure I wash my window right here while I'm here so I don't forget. You want to make sure you're doing top and bottom of the window. Sometimes with a kitchen window, you're going to have to spray it more than once. A lot of times it's food stuck on there that's not going to come off with one washing. So I'm going to spray mine one more time. For video purposes, I'm not going to do the top, but you need to make sure you do the top as well. You want to make sure you kind of stand back and make sure there's no glare or streaks. So now I'm going to finish up this portion of my counter. I'm going to use my granite. And I'm also, while I'm here, going to do a little Windex on my blender. Just to make sure there's no fingerprints and it's looking nice and shiny. So again, I'm going to move it to get my granite spray back there and slide it back. It's really important, again, I can't stress it enough, that you get eye level and make sure there's no crumbs left over. And now I'm going to move on to the other side of the counter. You want to do the same thing on this side of the counter. You want to spray your all-purpose. You want to rinse your magic eraser. So I'm moving the toaster. Moving everything again to make sure I'm getting crumbs. Making sure you get any food stuck on the counter, get it up really good. A lot of times with coffee machines, there's going to be grinds down here. You want to make sure you wash that, and we will Windex that after. This backsplash is pretty new. I don't see anything on it. If there was food stuck on it, you're going to want to wash it and then shine it after. In this row of counters, I have the dishwasher. So quickly, just get any food off of it, and we are going to Windex it and shine it after. So now that I've washed the counter, I'm going to Windex what needs to be Windexed. My toaster, just a little bit on that, and the front of my dishwasher. We're just making sure customers' eye level that there's no junk left on their appliances. You notice I'm using the same paper towel. You don't have to keep switching unless it's dirty. And it shouldn't be dirty because we just washed what we are wiping. And then I always take this back off and make sure it's clean inside. And now I'm going to granite my countertops. Sweep that under again. I would like the bottoms of these wiped as well. Make sure there's no food stuck on it. I'm still lifting everything. Anything on there. Pull this back out. checking eye level. Make sure there's no crumbs. And now we will move on to our appliances. For a deep clean, sometimes we have to clean the inside of an oven. This one is very clean, but I will show you what we use. We're spraying our all-purpose in. If they're really, really dirty, you will have a separate oven packet for an oven. Sometimes you might need to scrape food off. This one doesn't need too much. But if it was really dirty and you sometimes have to take these out, you need to get the sides and the back of the oven as well. I'm gonna give it one more quick wipe. A lot of times there's burnt on food down at the bottom. It's just not gonna come off. We just wanna make sure there's no debris. And then again, like everything else, we are going to use our Windex to get the cleaner off and to make it shine. Get the inside. Sometimes you might need Easy Off and an SOS pad. If that's the case, then you would use your oven cleaner kits. Let me close that. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to Windex the front of our appliance. The main thing here is to get any fingerprints off or if there's any stuck on food. We will come back after and shine it. You want to make sure you get the back of the handles really good too. That's where a lot of food sits. Under this little lip right here, that's where dust sits. And then you kind of want to stand back at a different angle and make sure there's no smudges left. The last appliance in the kitchen that we're going to do is the fridge. You want to make sure you're taking everything off. And try to remember where you took it off from. And again, I'm going to spray my Windex. The only thing you should be using on stainless steel is the Windex and then our shiner at the end. So the main thing here again is to get any smudges, any food off the front of the refrigerator and definitely the handles. You want to make sure you're getting behind. You want to make sure you're also getting the inside. If there's a water and ice maker, you should be getting sides, bottom, and top. Keep going. I also just open these up and just hit the top of them. We're not cleaning the inside of the fridge unless it's asked. And now we are going to shine our appliances. What we use is actually Orange Glow. Orange Glow is kind of like an oil that we wax into stainless steel, and it doesn't leave any streaks. So you want to take 2 pieces of paper towel, you want to fold it into 4s. Just give it a couple sprays, that's all you need. Don't ever spray directly onto the appliance because it'll go down to the floor and it's very slippery. So I put it on my paper towel, and you're gonna go with the grain of the stainless, which is usually side to side. And you're literally like waxing your appliance. Then you can go in circles. You want to make sure you get the sides. You want to make sure you're getting your handle. If you feel like you don't see it going on to your appliance, then you need to spray some more. Just another squirt on your paper towel. You need to make sure you're doing the entire appliance. Getting the sides. And the next thing you want to do is you always need to take a dry piece of paper towel to get any excess oil off of the appliance. This time, I just go in a different direction. Just to make sure there's nothing left. You want to make sure when you're done polishing your appliance, you want to stand back, make sure you don't see any streaks, and make sure it's all rubbed in evenly. And you want to do this for every stainless steel appliance in the kitchen. So that's done. So I'm going to go to my dishwasher. I'm going to do the same thing. Buff it in. I'll come back to that and dry it. I'm going to move on. You want to make sure you don't get the oil on the glass. You just want to do the sides where the stainless steel is. You want to make sure your eye level too, because you'll see exactly where the oil hasn't gone yet. Okay, now I'm ready to dry. I'm going to go back to my dry paper towel. Make sure it's all on evenly. Stand back, make sure there's no streaks. And then I'll dry my dishwasher. that's it. Your appliances are done. The last thing you want to do in the kitchen is scrub out your sink. What I'm doing is I'm going to spray my multi-purpose into my sink. And then my magic eraser again. And you want to scrub out the sink. You want to make sure you're getting the sides, the bottom, as much of the dirt and debris off as possible. Any food, coffee. You want to make sure you're getting under the lip. And leave the water running because you have to continually rinse. You always want to make sure you're getting around the drain really good. And then you always want to rinse it really good. When you're done with the sink, there should be no hair, no crumbs, nothing left in the sink. That part's done. I'll take my paper towel and just re-dry my faucet. And if you see anything left, just give it a quick wipe out. And that's it for the sink. So now we're gonna button up the kitchen before we do floors. You wanna make sure you're folding towels nice and neat. And this one was on the counter. And this one is still folded and it was on the oven. And this one went over here. You always want to make sure your towels are folded nice and neat and everything is put back to where it belongs. I also put back the stuff on the fridge where it belongs. So now we are ready for floors in the kitchen and dining room. So flooring is one of the most important parts when you are cleaning. You want to make sure you're extremely detailed in your vacuuming. So whoever is mopping after you is not going to pick up any debris, any crumbs on a wet mop. So it is really important as well when you are vacuuming, you get under as much things as possible. You want to go all the way up to the edge. You want to make sure you're getting under the cabinet as much as possible. Your vacuum edge should always be touching the edge of the floor. If there are corners that you can't get to, you just step on your vacuum, you use the hose, and you get into the corner. A lot of times you can't get under the fridge, so you want to just line it. Any furniture back so you can get underneath the furniture. You want to pick up stools and chairs because you don't want to slide them on the floor, especially wood floors. I'm going to go back through and make sure I have all my crumbs in the kitchen. carpet setting. You want to make sure you're pulling out any stairs. Putting it back. Make sure you get under as much as possible. When you finish one side of a rug, you want to make sure you're lifting it up to get underneath the edges. You should always be getting under the edges. And make sure if anything flies off the rug, you refit it. Now all around. Make sure you're edging furniture. I'm lifting up and edging. Getting the corners. Making sure my vacuum hits edges. That out. Make sure you get underneath. If you see a crumb that you can't get, just use the edge. Make sure you get the edges. Then just finish up your vacuuming. After you're done vacuuming, you're ready to mop. Want to make sure you have warm water. For wood floors, you just want to put a couple drops, just a couple drops of this in there, because you don't want it too sudsy. And then I will add in just a little dab of my all-purpose cleaner just for the smell. And that's all you need in your bucket. You want to make sure you're placing your bucket down on a carpet area as much as possible so it doesn't leave a ring on your wood floors. When you're mopping, you want to make sure you're wringing out your mop really good. You should not have a lot of water on your mop head because you can't have too much water on a wood floor. So when you're mopping, You want to go with the grain of the wood. You want to make sure you're getting the edges really good. You want to make sure you're putting some elbow grease into it in case there's any food or stains stuck on the floor. You want to rinse your mop head often. So you want to make sure you're getting the edge really good, the edge of the rug really good, and mopping. You want to make sure you use 2 hands on the mop. One hand like this is not going to get your floor clean. You want 2 hands, and you want to put some muscle into it. Make sure you're getting your edges again. I can't stress that enough. You always want to mop backwards. You shouldn't be stepping on a wet floor. It's going to leave footprints. Rinsing your mop head often, wringing it out really good. You want to lift that up. I do not need to get under this table as there's a rug. But if I was mopping and there was no rug here, you need to make sure chairs get pulled out. You mop under the table and you put the chairs back. You should never be mopping around a chair. You need to move the furniture. So when you're mopping the kitchen, you need to make sure you're getting all the way under the cabinets. Again, going with the grain of the wood. Scrubbing any areas that have stuck on food or debris. Still looking down at the floor, making sure I can see everything. Make sure you're mopping and you're walking backwards so you don't step on it. Now I need to move the stools. Again, make sure you're wringing out your mop really good and getting under here. Then you want to put your stools back. Make sure you're not sliding furniture on wood floors. And then I'm just going to finish mopping this side and we are all done. And we just completed the deep clean of the kitchen and the dining room. So you just want to make sure you double check your work all the time. Make sure you didn't forget anything. Make sure there's nothing left on the floor. Just want to do a quick walk around. And that is all you have to do. For the kitchen and dining room deep clean, it should take about an hour. Some kitchens and dining rooms are more messy than others. If you feel that you're cleaning a home that is very messy, you want to make sure you call into the office and let us know so we can keep track of timing.